Hello everybody, and welcome to Adventures with Medfords. My name is Joe, and today we're taking an in-depth look at the American Service Knife, or ASK. If you've been watching my channel, or if you follow me on Instagram at Drums, Knives, and Beards, you'll know that I'm a big fan of this knife. In fact, if you're looking for a quick 2-second endorsement, yeah, go to that website and get one. I could talk about this for an hour. I'm going to try not to do that here, but I do want to touch on the history of the ASK, as well as some of the customizations and innovations that you can do with it that set it apart from its competition. And then I'll tie things up with how this has fundamentally changed the way I approach everyday carry. I do also want to say from the outset that you're going to see some other ASK knives in this video, along with some other component parts of them, a lot of which were provided by American Service Knife or Jake Smith, the Medford guy. So I just wanted to give them shout outs from the get-go, especially to ASK. They've been so good to me, and I cannot thank them enough. In the name of time, though, I'm just going to jump right in. The American Service Knife is the brainchild of Greg Medford, and as I understand it, he and a couple of his buddies were spitballing some ideas for a new tool, a new implement, a new knife, and the theme was, multi-tools are great, but they tend to have a lot of unnecessary or largely unneeded tools. So, they wanted to make something that was just what someone needed, only what someone needed. But they also wanted to make it able to be modified so that people could change out their tools, as needed. We in the everyday carry community, we're not changing up our system every day, but occasionally you do need a different tool. They also wanted to make it customizable so that you could, make it your own. You can tear it down to its component parts and rebuild it as you see fit. So I like to think of it as kind of like the Burger King of knives. You can have it your way. But anyway, the idea was fleshed out a little bit more, and Greg ultimately said, hey, I want to move forward with this, and thus the ASK was born. It is 100% made in USA. In fact, it's 100% made in Arizona, and with the exception of the scales and the stamping of the titanium liners, it is made entirely in-house. They share a facility in Phoenix with Medford Knife and Tool and MKT USA. It's a modern take on a traditional pocket knife. Many notable differences, but the one I want to start with is the materials. The blade, the tools, and the springs are all crucible steels. You'll typically see these in S45VN, but you'll occasionally see them in MagnaCut. The liners and the pivots are 6AL4V titanium, and the scales are injection molded plastic. The tool set, this model is the current standard offering from ASK. As of early April 2023, when I'm filming this, this is the standard set. It's called the Jefferson. It comes with a drop point blade, very functional and utilitarian. And when I close this, you're going to see a half stop. Every blade and tool from ASK has a half stop. And I especially like it for the blade, because then you don't accidentally chop your fingers off when you're closing it one-handed. The Jefferson also has a bottle opener / screwdriver. And these two-dimensional bottle openers, they tend to be not very reliable, but this one, if you can see it, has a tiny little hook right on the bottom there. That makes it very reliable. It also has a chisel tool, which can double as a large screwdriver. It also has a 1/4-inch hex drive and a nail puller. I've used all of these tools in all of their capacities, and they work amazingly well. Other tool sets. So this is currently the standard offering from ASK, as I already mentioned. There are other models coming down the pipe, and I don't necessarily have a timeline on them, but we'll hopefully see them soon. All of them are very similar. They have a blade and 2 tools, but they all have slightly different tools. The blade shape, though, is the most notable difference. The Jefferson has the drop point blade. The next model coming will be the Washington, and it has a Tonto blade. After that will be the Ironsides, which has a Wharncliffe, and then the Alcazay, which has a sheep's foot. So there's already a lot of customizations that you can do to this. But let's talk about some more. We'll start with the scales. So as I said, these are injection molded plastic scales. And that's currently the only material that they make them in. I've heard whispers that there's going to be titanium at some point or other metals. I don't have a timeline on that, so TBD. You will, though, see out in the wild, you might see some scales made from different hardwoods, or there actually are some third parties that can make the titanium scales or other metals, but they're not OEM just yet. The cool thing with the plastic, though, is you can do a lot of stuff with this. Say you want to rock a different color. You know, rock black for the day, or you can do blue or yellow. There's a whole smattering of colors that you can choose from. But say you want to do something fancier, like like an urban camo. You can do that. You can print images on them. Like I've got this one from Pulp Fiction. You can do really custom stuff. Like I'm a math guy, so I like numbers and stuff like that. So I did this little number custom set. And then you can also do these Everclear scales, and these are awesome. Like they add a whole nother layer of dimensionality and badassery to it. Just the way the light reflects off the internal structure of the scale itself gives it kind of like an iridescent feel. I mean, maybe not quite iridescent, but it's just so cool the way the light reflects off of everything. And then even with the Everclears, you can do some really cool stuff with those. Here I've got a We the People printed one, but you can do flags, you can do other stuff. And I don't have any with me, but you can also do what they call Jolly Rancher scales, which are the Everclears, but they're tinted. So you can do like a translucent blue or orange or red or something like that. It's really, really cool. So that's just the scales. But say that I tend to not want to carry more than one thing that does the same job. So let's say that like you have a dedicated pocket knife that you're glued to, and you don't necessarily need the blade. You can do this single stack option here, where you just have the two tools. Oh, and speaking of different tools, I did want to mention, I don't have all the tools yet, but I do have this awl, which has a small screwdriver with it. And then this is called the quarter turn tool, which has a 1/4 inch hex drive, a 3/8 hex drive, and I've been using this as a screwdriver, but I believe it's meant to be a pry tool. Anyway, so you can do this single stack variation. You can do a double stack, and I don't have one built at the moment, but you can use these larger pivots to make a triple stack. Now, whether or not they're going to get bigger than that at some point, I don't know. I have no inclination or no information one way or the other, but I don't know. My hunch is that 3 is going to be the biggest, and we'll see. Time will tell, right? So with the scales, though, say that you want to change out your scales. I mentioned this in a previous video, that when you want to change out a scale, if you want to change out a set of scales, the way these are built, this pivot goes all the way through, and then it's capped off by these Torx T25 screws. If you just want to change this scale, that's fine. Pop out the screws, swap scales, put it back on, done. But if you want them to match, you have to take the whole knife apart. So they recently released Pit Stop Axles. That's the name they gave them. It's where you can take out all 4 screws at the same time and swap out both scales at the same time. It takes like 90 seconds. It is a great innovation, and it's actually already in production. They're live on their website. So now I don't know if when you order a standard Jefferson, is it going to come with standard pivots or pit stop axles? I don't know one way or the other. I would guess standard pivots, but we can find that out later. So it's modular, it's customizable. You can make it smaller, you can make it bigger. You can do different finishes. Now the standard offering is this high polish, maybe not high polish, but it's like a small media stone wash. Not quite a mirror polish, but it's definitely shiny. As I understand it, that is the only production offering from ASK, but there's also, don't quote me on this, but if you ask really nicely, that you can do these like a muted stonewash, a standard stonewash. Kind of mutes it out a little bit, not quite as shiny. I think that's pretty cool. If you want to go with really muted, there's PVD. This makes it really cool. I just posted a picture on my Instagram of this knife, but with the orange scales, and it looks awesome. It will add additional costs though. And speaking of costs, that is the biggest criticism that I get about ASK. From people online to I show it to my coworkers and my family and my friends. I tell them about how cool it is and you can customize it and do this and that, and they want one. And they're like, great, that's awesome. How much is it? And when I tell them $240, everyone's taken aback by it. But when you really get into it, look how thick these tools are. This is not your grandfather's pocket knife. These are built for good hard work. I wouldn't go batoning with this, but good hard work can be done with these tools. And then when you throw in that it's U.S. materials, put together and ground by a U.S. labor force, in the United States. It's a lot of people they say they want to buy U.S. made, but there is a higher cost involved with that. I wouldn't say $240 is a bargain, but it's definitely an appropriate price. So into how this has changed the way I approach everyday carry. At the start of 2023, I did what I called the Just Ask Challenge, which is where I carried only this and a pen and a flashlight. A year ago, I carried 3 knives, 2 pens, 2 flashlights. I doubled up on everything. And so I wanted to find a way to carry a knife that I liked without being, heavily distracted by knives and everyday carry. And I came up with the Just Ask Challenge. And it worked. I carried just this and a pen and a knife. And this took care of all of my cutting tasks and 99% of my everyday carry tasks. So that lasted consecutively for about a month and a half, and there are still days where I carry Just Ask. But it has changed the way I look at EDC. I am just physically more comfortable carrying less. I'm not saying I'm a minimalist, but this kind of taught me to do more with less. It really did. Most days now I carry this and a dedicated pocket knife, but my pliers-based multi-tool is not on my person. It's in my bag in case I need it, but it's not, on my belt. So I'm just physically more comfortable. I'm carrying less. I'm doing more. And it's been awesome. I do always look forward to the days when I, will carry Just Ask. It takes you in a different approach to your carry system. So that's what I wanted to say about the American Service Knife. It is modular, it is customizable, it's expandable and reducible. It is the next big thing in the knife world. Everyone's grandfather, carried some kind of pocket knife, Swiss Army knife or buck or case, something down in their pocket. I think in 50 years, everyone's going to be carrying an ASK. I really hope so anyway. This, like I said, next big thing in the knife world. I love it. Most of my knife life, I really haven't been a slip joint, guy. I carry a dedicated locking pocket knife, but this, like I said, this takes care of my cutting tasks. So go to asknife.com, get you a Jefferson, or you can pre-order the Washington or the Alcazay or the Ironsides. There's also a couple other smaller models, they do have one called the Atlas that is kind of similar to this one in that it's a single stack. So, yeah, go get you one. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.